Hi and welcome friends. If this is your first time here, my name is Tiffany and I'm the International Witch. Normally I'm on the other side of the camera, bringing you bullet journal layouts, book reviews, but today I'm on this side of the camera. Why? Because YouTube is making me. Stick around to find out why. Now, the last time you heard from me, I was getting ready to pack up and leave Italy. We landed in USA's retirement home, also affectionately referred to as Florida. We landed and we started to look for homes. Now, luckily, we had been saving up, we had been doing some stocks, and we were able to have a pretty nice nest egg to look for a home. The home that we chose was right in our budget and it needed a lot of work, but like I said, we had that nest egg, so we felt comfortable that the price was right and we jumped on it. Now, the home has two former owners. The very first owner, we're going to refer to as the Angel set, were amazing. They came in and they did so many great things with the house. Apparently the husband was a tiler and a lot of the beautiful tile work that's done in the house was done by him. Everything that they did to this house are things that I would have chosen myself, and I keep thinking like, wow, they did such a great job. I have an extra nice deep tub, which I absolutely love, and that is the first owners. Now, the first owners, I don't know if they passed away or if they retired, but they gave the home to their daughter. We're going to call her Miss B. Damn it, B is a common phrase around my house because she took a very beautiful renovated home and 15 years worth of absolute neglect on this house. There was so much stuff that we were having to clean and redo that would have been not an issue if she had done like bare maintenance, like bare upkeep on your home. Was not done for the past 15 years. This leads me into why I call this house the house from hell. First thing you need to know is that during an inspection, an inspector is not allowed to open walls or move furniture. Miss B did that to her advantage. There was an entire wall that had no working outlets. The entire line was blown, and the inspectors didn't catch it because in front of every single outlet on that wall was a box or a piece of furniture, or like every single, those 10 outlets, and every single one of them had been strategically hidden behind a piece of furniture. So we didn't know. As soon as we move in, there was a couple things that we knew we had to get done. It needed a new roof. It hadn't had a roof in over 15 years. And in order to have insurance in the state of Florida, you have to have a roof within 15 years. As soon as the 15-year mark on a roof expires, your insurance will drop you. It has to be replaced every 15 years. So we knew going into it that we were going to have a new roof. So right off the bat, before we even moved in and we had just signed the papers, we went ahead and signed for the new roof to be put on. The day of the final walkthrough comes, we walk into the house, ready to do the final walkthrough. Miss B and her family are still here. No moving has occurred. So we're like, today's the signing, right? So we leave the house and our realtor talks with their realtor, and apparently their realtor forgot to add in 24 hours after the signing for them to move out. That wasn't in the documents. That wasn't what we signed. Nobody knew about it. The realtor forgot to put it in. So as retaliation for us saying we're not giving you money unless the house is empty, so we held the money until they moved out, they left such a mess in the house. And I'm not talking about like, oh, they didn't sweep. No, I mean, this house was filthy when we moved in. The refrigerator, there was rotten food and everything in the refrigerator. There was still a sock and stuff in the washer. The bathtub hadn't been cleaned out. Like, this was like the most disgusting thing I'd ever walked into that was not a hoarder situation. They weren't hoarders. They just refused to clean. So the first like 3 or 4 days before we could even get our furniture was just cleaning this house to get it remotely livable. Now, when we were viewing the house, the Miss B had 2 giant pit bulls. I love dogs. That wasn't an issue for me. But there was a heavy, dog smell in the house. And I thought it was because the pit bulls were here. And, once they left, the smell would go away. It didn't go away. We rented steamers and all this, and we shampooed multiple times. 4 times later, it was still unbearable. I'm not talking about like a distinct, oh, there might have been a dog here. No, it like would smack you in the face when you would walk in the rooms. Wasn't our plan, but I wound up having to strip all the carpet and lay down new floors within a week of moving in this house. We still have not got furniture yet. That is a key part. Another part of things that got flagged in inspection is, according to Florida code, you have to have an emergency shutoff for your breaker box outside. It needs to be an external shutoff that, Florida power lines or firefighters, like they need to be able to shut it off from outside. And we paid $7,000 for this one company to install this. To install that, to remove 1 line from our breaker box, and to install 2 GFCI outlets. It was $7,000. Now, this company, I'm hesitant to say their name because it is not a good company. If I could go back, I would not be going with them, okay? So this company sends 1 guy out to do all this work. Even though that is like a major important thing, 1 guy comes out. And he's here from 10 a.m. until 9 p.m. at night. It has gotten dark and it is pouring rain, and he is still here by himself doing this. So I feel bad for the guy. But just hang on, We move in the house. We're on a mattress, a blow-up mattress, because we still haven't gotten our furniture yet, because that's still on the ocean. We're on a blow-up mattress in the bedroom. And every single time the air conditioner would cut on, our power, everything was shut out and cut back on. I'm talking dishwashers, refrigerators, like everything. And I'm like, something's wrong. This isn't right. So we contact that same company because it's one of those big all-in-house. They do plumbing, electrical, like everything. You have any problem in your house, you're supposed to be able to call this one company. So I call them and I'm like, hey, something is drastically wrong with my house. Every single time the AC cuts on, the whole house shuts down. And I was told, well, that's probably because it's a bad AC, and when an AC gets old, they require more power and they'll drain your breaker box. So that's a common issue with old air conditioning units. We knew that the air conditioner was going to need to be replaced. Once again, 15 years, no maintenance. We knew it was towards the end of the life. But we had hoped to maybe get it put in the fall. Well, no, we're getting it put in now. So we spend $18,000 to get a complete new HVAC system. Furnace, air conditioning, all of that, to get that put in. That gets put in at like the day after. You remember all those outlets that I told you, those 10 outlets in that whole room that weren't working. This is the day we find that out. I'm sorting things, trying to get stuff ready for our furniture to arrive, and I realize nothing in that room will turn on. Those outlets are bad. So I call the company and I'm like, hey, I need y'all to come out and fix it. Well, they send a guy out, really, really nice guy. However, he reminds me of Thor. Like, I will call him Thor because giant, blonde, muscular, huge guy. He comes out. He gets up in my attic. Now, Florida homes have drastically low pitch roofs. So there is no space in the attic. Like, he is crawling on his stomach. I feel bad for the guy. Not a problem there. Like, I feel really bad for the guy. It's sweltering hot up there. He's on his stomach. I couldn't do it. So everything gets run. He's up there. He hits something and another set of outlets don't work. So now he's trying to problem solve, what did he hit? And he is up there all day in my attic trying to figure out what line did he pull that now my entire hallway and bedroom don't work. Well, he gets down, Still doesn't know what's wrong, but he puts the panel back up just to see, to check where the breakers are, and suddenly everything works again. That should have been a red flag. It didn't work, and then he touched something and suddenly it works again. Like, that concerns me. But anyways, he closes it up. That night we go to sleep. We have a brand new air conditioner now, brand new HVAC, so we should be good. No. The problem is even worse than before. Everything in the house shuts out. Everything. And you would hear surges. And at this point, I'm afraid the house is going to burn down around me. Literally 4 a.m. in the morning, I call the company. It's after hours, so we get an automated system. And I'm like, look, something is wrong. We bought emergency break-off from you guys. We bought a brand new furnace and HVAC. And every single time the AC tries to cut on, my entire house shuts down. And now I'm concerned that it's gonna hurt my brand new AC that I just bought, like $18,000. They send someone else out. That night, just on a whim, my husband and I were like, the AC is not blowing as hard as it was before. It was blowing harder for the old air conditioner than what we're getting right now. Something's wrong. While we're waiting on them to come out and try to tell us what's wrong with the electricity, my husband decides, I'm gonna peek my head up in the attic and just take a look. He can't get very far because, like I said, this is a very tight attic. He sticks his head up. When Thor was up in my attic, once again, big giant guy crawling on his stomach, he crushed my AC ducts up there. I have photos of the AC ducts when we got the inspection done. They did not look like that. There was entire AC vents opening. It was colder in my attic than it was in my home. The next day, the guys come out to find out what's wrong with the electricity. He inspects some things and he comes back in and he tells me it's the line where the meter box connects to your house. The meter box is loose. You'll need to replace the meter box. It's very old. So we paid to replace the meter box. Here is where the shit hits the fan. They come out. While the guy is here, Florida Power and Light pulls up. And I stay in the house, but my back door here, is like 3 feet away from the meter box. So if someone's at the meter box, you can hear them from our living room. So I'm here in the living room and I'm hearing him talk to the Florida Power and Light guy. And the Florida Power and Light is like, I don't have any orders, because he was out just checking lights and he sees this guy messing with the meter box. He's like, I don't have any orders to cut off the electricity for this house. The guy working is like, oh, no problem. We don't need you to cut it off. I can do it. And Florida Power and Light's like, you're not supposed to. That's my job. And the guy's like, well, I do it all the time. So Florida Power and Light leaves after warning him that they are the only ones who are supposed to be cutting the electricity to a unit. I'm in the living room and all of a sudden I turn my head and I can see lights flashing in my hallway, and you just hear pop, 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 pop. There are sparks flying from my breaker box into the hallway. The whole thing is lighting up like flash bombs are going off. My initial thought is, homeboy outside, is getting electrocuted. He's getting fried. This should not be happening. So I go running out and I'm like, are you okay? Are you okay? And he just looks at me, he's like, yeah, what's wrong? I was like, well, we got fireworks going on in here. So he comes running in, turns it off, goes back outside, can't get anything to work. Nothing is cutting on anymore. He calls his boss, and I'm gonna call his boss Brant. That's not his name, but I'm gonna call him. He calls his boss Brant. And we hear him, because once again, he's right next to my window here. I hear him, he goes, something's wrong. I did everything right, but something's wrong. No, nothing's cutting on, you're gonna need to come here. So already I'm like, oh, this is gonna be a long night. Mr. Brant gets here. He introduces himself. Hi, I'm the GM, I'm Brant, I'm gonna make sure I'm gonna get everything set up for you. You guys don't have to worry about a thing. They are here until midnight. They have floodlights on out there trying to figure out what's happening. And all the kid is saying is, I did everything I was supposed to do. I did everything right. This shouldn't have happened. And then I hear Mr. Brandt say, this house hasn't been grounded properly. Did we do this shut off? This isn't grounded. So the original shut off, the $7,000 that I paid, apparently was not properly grounded, and it blew everything up. So they're here until midnight. They get power back on. But now our brand new HVAC system that we just paid $18,000 for through their company won't work. Mr. Brandt is like, okay, I'm an electrician, I'm not HVAC. We will have someone out here first thing in the morning. We'll get you set. They send Dan out. Now, I am using Dan's real name because Dan is a fucking angel, okay? You need to understand Dan is the only reason why I am still working with this company to this day. When Dan leaves, I leave, okay? Dan gets here. Dan is awesome. Dan is like, okay, they did this, this, and this. We're gonna get you fixed up. My HVAC was so new. It was the new year model to the point that they had no spare parts. There was no parts in the warehouse for this brand new unit. So Dan drives 3 hours north to Jacksonville to get this part for me and drives 3 hours back down to fix my HVAC. Hallelujah, I love him. While he's here, I'm telling him that I'm pissed about my HVAC, my ductwork upstairs getting crushed. My husband and I got up there with some insulation from Lowe's and some duct tape, but you know, I'm not a pro, so we don't know what to do. So Dan talks to us. We wound up purchasing new ductwork, grills, boots, the whole 9 yards. We knew it's an old house, it was gonna have to be replaced. So yet another thing on the list. So he gets the HVAC working. And he's like, I'm gonna get a really good crew out here. I know them, I know they're really great. They can crawl in the attic, really great guys. Okay, at the same time, I brought up concerns about there's quite a lot of cloth wiring in this house. It's an old house. He went and talked to Mr. Brandt, and he came back and said, okay, look, while we're doing the ductwork, why don't we do a partial rewire and we'll pull those bad wires? And I was like, hang on, hang on. By bad wires, I need you to be very specific. What are you considering bad wires? Because at this point, I'm kind of like done with the company. He calls Mr. Brandt up. I'm standing right next to him whenever he calls. And he asks Mr. Brandt, he's like, okay, you mean the cloth wiring, right? You're going to be pulling the cloth wiring. And Mr. Brandt says, yes. Okay. They leave. The day arrives that the crews are supposed to be coming out. Well, I get a phone call that the ductwork people aren't going to come out that day. There's something else going on. So they're going to send the electricians out. And I'm like, well, hang on, because the whole reason why we were putting them together is because I have a very low roof and they're going to have to cut holes in my ceiling for the ductwork. So while those holes are there, I thought that's y'all were going to be running wires and stuff just to like help yourself out. The person on the phone like assured me like, no, it's okay. We can get the electrical up, no problem. You don't have to do this at the same time. I'm like, okay. I mean, it's a lot of electrical. He's going to be in the ceiling for a while, but you know, if you say good, then okay. Guy gets here. We can't understand each other. There is a linguistic problem because the person that is here is not fluent in English. I lived in Italy. I know that's a very difficult thing to work around, but unfortunately, I'm having questions and he can't answer. So he comes in and he's like, okay, I'm going to put wires in box. And I'm like, I'm here thinking like we're supposed to be getting a partial rewire. Like, what do you mean wire in box? But I can't, like I said, I can't communicate. So lo and behold, he takes all these wires out of the wrecker box, but nothing is pulled, nothing is replaced. They just get shoved in a box that's in my ceiling. I don't know. And we paid $6,000 just for this rewiring. So $6,000 and I have no clue what he did. Now, my breakers don't align. Like one of my rooms was a garage addition and on the breaker box it says garage addition. Well, now those outlets are called dining room and I don't have anything in the dining room. So I am super confused. I have no clue what goes to what in my breaker box. I'm like literally taking one of those outlet pluggers and going and flipping a breaker and going around the whole house trying to figure out what goes to what after this has happened. So $6,000. He pulls one wire, okay? One wire that went to my dining room light. One. He leaves. I go to use the outlets in my kitchen and none of my outlets work. So I called Dan up and I'm like, Dan, you're gonna have to get a hold of somebody because homeboy came out and moved one wire and now none of my outlets work. They send somebody else out here, that poor kid, and he's trying to figure out what's going on. And finally he just has to throw his hands up and he says, I don't know. I'm gonna have to run a new line. And at this point I'm like, well, y'all screwed it up, so I'm not paying for that. So that was a free thing that they ran the line because they screwed something up. Well then, so this is just the electrical side of things. Then the HVAC people come to put the new ductwork in. They've got holes in my ceiling. I'll put pictures. There was like 7 holes in my ceiling at this point. They get up there, they're up there all day, and they are great boys. Like, they were so sweet. I have no problem with the boys. One of the main things, reason why I paid for grills and boots is one of the vents, because it had been busted open, started having mold, and mold was growing on the grills. So when they got through and they came in and told me, they're like, okay, we're wrapping up. And I said, okay, so are you guys gonna swap out the grills now? And he goes, you didn't get grills. I was like, yes, I did, hang on. So I pulled up the paperwork and he's reading the paperwork and you just see him go, fuck. And he looks over at me and he goes, it didn't say anything about boots or grills on our work order. And unfortunately, we've already hooked everything up to your old boots. So we'd have to take everything apart. Sorry, but we'll get you the grills. And they leave. So once again, I called Dan and I'm like, Dan, they didn't replace any of the boots and none of the grills. I paid for those. So Dan is like, oh my God, what did they do? Like, Dan is the only person, when you call this company, it's kind of like dealing with a credit card company in Houston, Texas, okay? Nobody knows what has happened to your house. Nobody even knows who was working on it. It's just this giant corporation that just sends randomly, you'll get a new person every time. And if you call with any complaints, you can't get a hold of a manager or anybody. You just get told by the receptionist, we'll have someone call you back. You never get a call back. But Dan gave me his personal phone number, and so I've been able to talk to Dan, and Dan's been kind of like my go-between. I feel bad having to do that, but like there's no one else to talk to. So we finally get everything patched up. We get everything squared away. For the first time, I kind of feel like I can breathe in this house. This is the very first week that I can focus on unpacking, because let me tell you, when you don't have working electrical or HVAC in the middle of summer in Florida, everything gets pushed to the side. We bought a small little window unit and we have been huddled in one bedroom with this window unit for the majority since we moved in. We moved in here April 7th and it's now middle of August. And we've been huddled in that one room trying to use the air conditioning. So this week I was like, okay, finally I can get some work done. Oh, I forgot to finish. That was another problem. So last week, 2 weeks ago, very, very freaking hot, the week before August 1st, so the very last week in July, it rains. And when it rains, the rain comes through my freaking roof into my new furnace that I just bought and hits the motherboard and fries the new motherboard. So I call the roofing people, because remember, we just got a brand new roof. I called the roofing people and they came out, and whenever you're standing underneath the furnace, there's this vent that goes up through the roof and outside. Because I was standing near the furnace, I could hear the man on the roof calling our roofing company. And he's like, no, I'll get it sealed, but this ain't us. I'm gonna send you pictures. You wouldn't believe me. That's not what a homeowner wants to hear. So the owners of the roofing company, two of them, they get on a conference call and they call me and they're like, hey, he sent us pictures. I'm going to send them to you. You might need to call your furnace company because the vent that the exhaust goes out has melted. So when they blew up my furnace, it hit the furnace and went up in the air through the vent and melted the vent. And water has been pouring in this vent ever since. They still have not come out to fix the vent. They promised me they were going to. They still have not. So the past 2 weeks, I didn't have air conditioning again. So this is the very, very first week that I've had air conditioning and I'm able to start unpacking. Do you know how horrible it is to live in a house for 6 months and have no AC? Things are blowing up around you. You can't unpack. You can't find anything. But this is the first week that I thought, whew, okay, we can do it. And then YouTube sends me a message. I have to get a video out this month or they're cutting off my YouTube monetization and I will have to reapply all over again. Really, YouTube? Right now? That's what you want to do? So, I am here bitching and complaining because, well, YouTube made me do it. But that's where I'm at. And hopefully, maybe next month, if nothing else blows up in my house, I might be able to find my computer. I still don't know how I'm going to upload this, so, you know, cross your fingers. But, I'm done. I am so done. I'm so done. Oh, and my husband's already saying he's thinking about reapplying for jobs that send us back overseas. Catch you around.